Hello and welcome once again to Let's Talk Catholic with Father Scott Lawler. This week, we feature the end of one recording and the beginning of another. First, we bring you the conclusion of last week's program about the power of Eucharistic adoration.
I love this short quote by St. Maximilian Kolbe. If angels could be jealous of men, they would be so for one reason: Holy Communion.
Yeah. As I was saying to Deacon Kevin, the confusion with that is, you might want to elaborate, is because one of Thomas Aquinas' hymns is Panis Angelicus, bread of angels. But when he's talking about angelic bread, he actually means something other.
Bread
yes,
of heaven.
Superabundant, what it says in the Our Father. Give us this day our daily bread. That's not what it says in the Greek. It says superabundant bread. It's the Eucharist that gives us life. Have you got one from Francis of Assisi, or is it me that's got one?
I think you do.
I'll give you this one from another one from Peter Julian Emmer, though. Eucharistic adoration is the most necessary mission to the Church, which has even more need of prayerful souls than of powerful preachers or men of eloquence. A man of eloquence, a powerful preacher. But the Blessed Sacrament is so much more. Society will again someday become Christian, one to Jesus Christ, by the apostolate of Eucharistic adoration. We're doing it for the world. The Blessed Virgin Mary is eager to make Jesus in the Eucharist known to all and to group them in a Eucharistic guard of honour, a court of devoted adorers. And here's a quote from Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In order to convert America and save the world, what we need is for every parish to come before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament in holy hours of prayer. That's pretty powerful, that alone, that we're doing it for our families, for other people, for our country, and you had a full machine one.
Yeah.
So
the only time our Lord asked the apostles for anything was the night he went out into agony. Not for activity did he plead, but for an hour of companionship.
Once again, I'd like to remind, to just point out to people, if you can do an hour, you can do more, that's terrific. But any visit, long or short, to the Blessed Sacrament, you will get merits from it, won't you? There's no, it's not a wasted time.
Yeah, no.
Pope Paul VI, now saint, of course, a holy hour of Eucharistic adoration is the best way to grow spiritually outside of the Mass. So, why are we saying all of this when people could just come to Mass? When I say just come to Mass, of course lots of people don't. Why are we sharing all of this? Why do the saints think that this is so important rather than just going to Mass?
Well, for one thing, that's going to Mass is wonderful. It's fantastic. But this is something you can do anytime. And going to Mass, you have to go where there's an active Mass going on in order to attend Mass. But adoration, you can be on your own timetable. You can just and you certainly wouldn't want for that to be the norm, where I'm just going to spend time with Jesus alone.
It's not an either or.
Right,
no,
right.
Yeah.
But it's just an extension of that. Albeit, I just said, you don't want to do it alone. It's a like personal extension, but it's extending that Mass. Not the sacrifice of the Mass, but it's extending.
The adoration. It's the actual adoration. One of the, you got anything you want to share about that?
Well, Mass is communal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adoration could be just you and Jesus, a time by yourself, the quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need the quiet nowadays, and that's one of the things I like most about going to adoration is the fact that it is quiet. There are no distractions in there. The only distraction you have is Jesus and the monstrance.
Or your own head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even after you get accustomed to going to adoration, that tends to go away too.
It does, perseverance with it.
Yes.
I'll tweak what both of you said by sharing something that was actually written by St. Peter Julian Aymard, which I think is one of the most beautiful things. And frankly, if the other stuff we've not talked about has not given you a reason to come to adoration, whether it be with us here or other places, wherever you live. If you believe that someone who you loved here on earth is in heaven, at this very moment, what are they doing? What are they doing in heaven?
Adoring.
What are they doing in heaven?
They're in adoration.
So if you come to adoration and you sit in adoration, at that moment, you're the closest you can be to that loved one here on earth, because you're doing exactly what they're doing to exactly the same God. Many people miss their loved ones. Father Joe's parents have passed on. Deacon Kevin's parents have passed on. Father Joe has a grandson who died as a baby. Many of us have got loved ones, children, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, who we were very close to, friends who we were very close to, who have died, and we in our hearts feel that they're in heaven. If you really feel that, go join them in adoration. Do what they're doing, right?
Something just hit me there, and if they aren't in heaven,
Well, that's a great point.
then
Go pray for them.
pray for them, but go do what they wish they could be doing.
Yes. Or that they're looking forward to if they're in purgatory.
Yeah.
Then, and pray for them, get them there quicker, so you can adore at the same time.
Yeah.
There's no downside to going to adoration. But that last thing, St. Peter Julian obviously has written fantastically about the Blessed Sacrament. I remember when I read that and I thought to myself, and it was like an aside to something other point he was making, and I remember sitting and thinking, oh my goodness, that is so profound and amazing, and it makes sense so much. And I've shared this with Father Joe, going back to when I was adoring in New Bedford. The lady who adored the time before me, her conversion story is an absolutely amazing story. And she was working in Walmart at the time in Boston when she converted. And she was in the canteen before they started using Subways, and there are other places you could eat, but I think they use them now for the Walmart stuff. But she was in the canteen, and at the table behind her were two Catholics, talking about the church, talking about church militant here on earth, fighting the devil, the church suffering in purgatory, and the church triumphant, and how that was the church. It's not just what you see in the pews, not just what you see here on earth. And how if we live in a state of grace, that we're all connected and we're not separated. And she went home and said to her husband, I don't care what else Catholics believe. We need to become Catholics. And he said, why? And she said, because 6 weeks before she'd had a miscarriage. So because Catholics know that I'm not separated from my child. It must be right. And when she told me that, I thought to myself, I've got so much to learn, so far to go in that. But she said, all the rest of it, I didn't care what I would have to do, how I would have to change how I viewed the world and things like that. That made so much sense. Everything else must make sense. Your quiet moment when you were discerning, that's a moment in adoration where it all makes sense. Some of us are blessed to have them. Some people don't have that. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, but sometimes at Mass, Sometimes when you're counselling someone, I definitely can tell you, I was sharing about some distressing confessions, not what they actually were, but how I was saying to Deacon Kevin that I just felt the Holy Spirit was using me because I didn't know where the things I was saying was coming from. I'm sure you've had that, because like me, you take time with confession and you open yourself up to the Holy Spirit to guide you, because the things that were coming out, I don't know where they came from. They certainly didn't come from me.
And this is not necessarily having to do with adoration, but so much frequently, and when I'm in confessional, where so many times I could just, that God has sent that person to me because I need to listen to them. I mean, because I need to be.
You need to hear this.
I need to hear that too, and and it's like because some of that is going on in my life, and it's like I think sometimes He sends these people in the confessional because it's like, okay, it's you, Joe. You know.
I'll relate that actually to praying with people. When this can happen in seminary, but certainly in monasteries. One of the reasons that sometimes that you go to prayers when the bell goes is because Kevin and Joe are going to be there. I wouldn't want to let them down. No, you hope most of the time you go is because I want to pray God. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you go because, well, the bell's gone and I should be there. And sometimes you go because I don't want to let the others down. In adoration, the more people see each other in adoration, the more they realize, I'm not doing this at the moment. I'm not on this at the moment. It's one of the things that I've said, to come back to confession. One of the things that couples should see is they should see each other go to confession, because that's like renewing your marriage vows. I promise before God, I would do everything. I would be with you in goodness, and this is me doing my bit to make sure that I'm getting to heaven, and that's you doing your bit to make sure you get to heaven. And so you can see how that's done together. But that's the same when you have adoration. Apart from the fact that it's a wonderful thing, it builds strength in the parish, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Because even in Hannah, you didn't have. How many people did you have coming?
Oh, regularly, 3 to 4. I mean, that would be like the ones you that would be there no matter what.
But how important was that to them?
Oh, yeah.
We did a radio program talking to them about it. Those core, and I'm probably going to I'll get Nick to rebroadcast it, because they're normal Catholics who are trying to express what we are clumsily trying to express. But I'm going to ask you again to read that quote from Don Bosco.
Do you want the Lord to give you many graces? Visit him often. Do you want him to give you few graces? Visit him rarely. Do you want the devil to attack you? Visit Jesus rarely in the Blessed Sacrament. Do you want him to flee from you? Visit Jesus often. Amen.
I'm going to finish with a quote from our patron saint, St. Francis of Assisi. What wonderful majesty, what stupendous condescension, O sublime humility, that the Lord of the whole universe, God and the Son of God, should humble himself like this under the form of a little bread for our salvation. In this world I cannot see the most high Son of God with my own eyes, except for his most holy body and blood. And he comes to us defenseless, and he sits there in this little host inside this receptacle. Yet he made you.
Yeah.
So, any closing remarks from yourselves? Any supplications you'd like to make?
I guess if it would just be an encouragement of don't be discouraged if you go to adoration and nothing spectacular happens,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be spectacular.
Yeah.
It may just be that gentle calmness that you experience, and that's nothing spectacular. But it's and as I forget which one of you alluded to this. In this world, there's so much noise and everything. Sometimes we just need that quiet. I have family members that there's always noise going on. I mean, they can't stand it quiet. They always have to have something on the radio or I even have family members who, and if you're one of these, don't worry about it. But I mean, it's like they can't sleep without noise.
I know people like that.
They have to have some noise, and I just love the quiet, And
if that's holding you back from coming, don't let it hold you back. Don't be afraid of the silence.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something you do have to get accustomed to. If you're surrounded by noise all the time, that's your norm. And to go into this environment where it's quiet and peaceful I think it can be intimidating, and it can scare some people. I'm not going to go because I'm not going to know what to do with myself for an hour in this quietness.
Yeah.
I need something to occupy.
Which is why maybe if people feel like that, they should start with 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And build it up. I think you said to me once that sometimes visits, you plan to go for 10 minutes and it can end up being half an hour.
mm-hmm.
If you've not set I've actually got to go somewhere, you can lose yourself in it. And I'm touching upon what you just said. During COVID, the suicide rate skyrocketed because there are so many people who don't like themselves. So when they're left on their own to reflect on themselves, they don't like themselves. And if they go to visit the Lord, they're not just with someone who likes them, he loves them, he died for them. And if a crucifix doesn't drive that home enough to you, which is a love letter written in God's blood to you personally, spending time in the quiet with the Lord, having that wash over you is just a really beautiful thing.
Can I just like a little warning of because I've experienced this sometimes when sometimes it was the middle of the night, those times when you're the only one there, and you can get so possessive of that. Like if someone else happens to come in, it's almost like,
this is my time.
Yeah.
Go away. This is my time with Jesus. And of course, he's reaching out to that person too. And so it just, not to be so possessive because he came for you, but not just for you.
I think in order for that to happen, it has to be that you're adored during the night. Because when I used to adore during the night as well, I would walk about, I would speak out loud. It was only me, right? It was only me, God, and the angels, right?
Yep.
And if somebody else came in, I felt, well, I suppose I could walk about, but they might be a bit distracted, and I should really walk behind them and stuff like that. And then you would be thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? Shut up and pay attention to losing yourself in the Lord without the whole thing. The word I would say in regard to protocol, so if people feel they want to stand, they should stand. There's nothing wrong with standing up in adoration. And if somebody's there and they want to stretch their legs, if it's a smaller, like a chapel or an adoration chapel, and it's smaller, then you might have to step outside because having difficulties with my back, if I don't sometimes do that, or if I need to do it, I would end up doing this during adoration. Like that, and that could be really distracting to someone.
Yeah.
I wish that person would stop having St. Vitus dance or something like that.
And this is just something that's just very personal, and don't necessarily recommend this, but I remember at a parish I was at where the rectory was attached to the church, and I remember I didn't do this often, but every once in a while I would just go there in the middle of the night and just sleep. There was a pew there, and I would just lay down, and sometimes I would fall asleep, and it was just wonderful.
Now, you bring up something that I was asked a lot about when we were starting Adoration in Alpena. What if I fall asleep?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So another question, I've talked to Deacon Kevin about this, and many people, if they've been to me confession, might have had this discussion with me. If you're praying and you fall asleep, what happens? Right. So the great Alphonsus Liguori, whose feast day we had recently, he said that if you fall asleep praying, say you fall asleep praying the rosary, your guardian angel will finish off your rosary for you, but don't think your guardian angel will pray the rosary because you don't start, because you're sleepy. Right. So if you fall asleep in adoration, you're both dads. When your children fell asleep in your arms, did you think that was disrespectful?
Yeah.
Or did you think, wow, that is beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the desire to do what you read out that the father of Origin used to do? To kiss your son or your daughter,
Yeah.
and say, and see the spark of the divine in your child. There is absolutely nothing wrong with falling asleep in adoration. You're not less present to God, because God is not on this time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the same thing with, which I probably should bring up. A lot of people go to adoration and they turn the adoration chapel into a reading room. And it's because they're scared of the silence. Right? I would encourage people, if at first you come in and you've got a good, that you're going to read some scripture or something, a life of a saint or something, that's great. But don't be scared to close the book and just look at the Lord. Don't be scared to do it. Because, as I said at Mass today, when Malcolm Muggeridge was making the documentary for the BBC about Mother Teresa, and he asked when the bell went why they all went to adoration, and he said, why do you do that? And Mother Teresa said to him, do you think we could do what we're doing if it wasn't for doing this? Because it fed everything they did. But also he said, well, what do you do? Because Malcolm Muggeridge wasn't a Catholic then, he died as a Catholic. What do you do? Well, we listen. Well, what if he doesn't speak to you? Then we spent an hour with the God that made us. There's no downside to this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to finish now with two quotes from St. Peter Julian Aymard. The adoration of Jesus in the Most Blessed Sacrament is the end of the Church militant, as in the purpose. So Church militant is us here on earth. Just as adoration of God in His glory is the end of the Church triumphant. A holy rivalry, a concert of prayer, a harmony of divine service should exist between the heavenly court and the Eucharistic court here below, between the adorer and his mother, the Church. And in between is the Church suffering, that those in heaven, the people in purgatory, those in heaven are praying for them and for us, and we can pray for the people in purgatory as well. And the last quote from St. Peter Julian Aymard: Eucharistic adoration is the greatest act of holiness here on earth. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for your patience in listening to this. I hope this is useful to people. Frankly, and I think both Deacon and Father would agree with me, if one person comes to adoration because of what we've just done,
It's a win.
that's because we're doing it for the world. So why don't we, three of us, end with the trifold prayer that St. Peter Julian Aymard wrote in honour of the Blessed Sacrament, which most people know. So if you're watching this at home, please join in with us. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
O Sacrament most holy, O Sacrament divine, all praise and all thanksgiving be every moment thine. O Sacrament most holy, O Sacrament divine, all praise and all thanksgiving be every moment thine. O Sacrament most holy, O Sacrament divine, All praise and all thanksgiving be every moment mine. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hope to see you in adoration.
We now bring you the first part of a two-part interview about an important but often misunderstood aspect of Catholic life: stewardship.
Hello everyone, and if you're listening on the radio, welcome to Let's Talk Catholic. If you're watching it through the YouTube channel, then you can see that it's me, Father Scott Lawler. I have two guests. This is something that comes really from the fact that for years now I've been doing funerals for people, etc., and almost nobody says in their obituaries, and please think about giving a donation to a parish or the diocese or a Catholic charity. And we actually, here in rural Michigan, since there aren't that many of us, we need people to be giving to us, to the parishes, to the diocese where David's from. And as you're going to hear, there's a great opportunity for covers a whole lot of things. And so Tom might be talking more, be unusual if he's talking more than me, of course, but he might be talking more than me because there's a kind of cloud of mystery that sometimes goes over the organisation that he represents. They are not at loggerheads, the two of them. In fact, they can explain what the relationship is. So it's not a case of either or, parish or the foundation or the diocese. This is about what are the ways for Catholics or non-Catholics to further the mission of the Church, to help us with the very necessary fundings we have. And if you're sitting there thinking, is that not what CSA is about? No. CSA only skims the top. It's like a yearly budget kind of thing, and Dave can talk more about that, and he will talk more about that than me. CSA doesn't give Dave the chance to really build fundamental things, I wouldn't have thought. But anyway, so before now we carry on, I will give, we'll go with Tom first because he's older than Dave. So Tom, introduce yourself please, and as long as you feel necessary, tell us about your organisation.
Perfect. My name is Tom Hardy. I'm the president of the Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation. I've been with the foundation just short of 3 years. It'll be 3 years in October. The foundation was started in 1998 by Bishop Cooney, and at the time it was really created to protect some of the assets of the diocese, some of the assets that they had, and to put them into endowments for specific purposes.
Can I just, before you carry on, 1998, right?
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with protecting money because of abuse.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely not.
No, but you know,
yeah,
when people hear, sadly, when people hear it was to do something to protect the assets, they're thinking, oh yeah, because you didn't want people to sue you. But this all happened before the court cases in Boston, which were 2001, weren't they? I think that's anyway. So sorry.
And perhaps I should use a different word, not necessarily protecting the assets, but really smartly investing assets and then protecting those assets, not from lawsuits or wrongful issues or anything that would go on, but truly for healthy financial perspective,
good business
sense and practice, for the long term. Right. And that's what we do. So at our core, the foundation is created to, we create endowments for any Catholic organization, any purpose specific Catholic mission that may go on. So we have organizational endowments, we have purpose-driven endowments, we have cemetery endowments. I believe I have 23 endowments for our cemeteries across the diocese now, which is a passion of mine, and we can jump into that at another discussion. But we have 112 endowments within our foundation right now. And what that means, it's great that we have those, but all those investments, anytime you create an endowment, it's for a specific purpose. It may be for an individual parish, like I mentioned, like a cemetery, one of our schools, a scholarship fund. Any interest that you have, we can create an endowment for. That money is invested, and then the earnings off of that investment is sent back to that organization or whatever purpose is set up for that specific endowment every year. So what's great, our foundation right now, we have $57 million in assets under management. And that's a big number to say, but the best part of that number is that we are sending back almost $2 million every year back into our Catholic community within our diocese specifically.
Okay, so talk me through this. I've got 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. Do I give you that 10 grand and then you do something with it? Or do I say to you, I've got 10 grand, I'd like it to help All Saints School in Alpena? How does it work? Or is it both those things possible?
Both of those things are possible. So you can come to us with 10 grand, $1,000, $1 million, whatever it may be, whatever you have, whatever you're thinking about. And if there is already an endowment created for the purpose that you are interested in, then we can invest that money into that endowment. And if it's not there, then we can create a new endowment. We're creating new endowments all the time.
Okay, so as a parish priest, if someone approaches me and says, I've got 10 grand, can I approach you and say, I'd like this to be an endowment for this parish?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who's on if you're able to name them, who's on the board? Who says either yay or nay to if someone wants
to create endowment? Yeah, great question, because our board consists currently of 9 lay people across the diocese. We also have Father Rolando Silva, who is on our board. Father Hayden is on our board. And then the bishop is a non-voting member on our board.
Right.
And that's important because we listen to the bishop and we hear different things that are going around the diocese. But he's a non-voting member. And that's important because we're completely separate from the diocese. We're our own entity. The diocese is a customer of ours, the same as any parish. So it's any parish, anybody that we create an endowment for, the diocese is a customer just like ours.
So the board isn't answerable to anybody apart from each other?
That's correct.
Okay.
So our board, and they take their job very seriously.
Yeah.
Our board,
I probably should point out that Father Rolando Silva is a CPA, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And has a background in finance, a lot of finance and things like that, because I know him quite well.
Yeah, he does, and he's been a great asset for our board, and I believe he's been on the board for 2 years. Joel Myler is our president of our board. Father Hayden is the vice president of our board. John Pitts is the chair of our investment committee. John is a member of St. Francis Parish in Traverse City. Ron Harris is an accountant.
That would be the not as famous St. Francis Parish.
Not as famous
as this one.
Yes,
yeah.
And not as famous as yes.
I just had to do that.
That's very fair to say.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you. Are all the people on the board, are they all Catholics?
All Catholics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they all got finance backgrounds or business backgrounds? Or
finance, business, accounting. We have attorneys on the board.
Okay.
And that's very important because when you talk about estate planning and how you're thinking about, planning your estate, we rely on the attorneys on our board for a lot of their knowledge and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
As we discuss any new fund, where our growth opportunities are, how can we better serve all the parishioners and all the parishes, all of our customers, how can we do that? So you think about legal, you think about finance, you think about all those different things. And they're all kind of experts in their specific area of expertise in their fields. And so for them to be a part of us is a great thing.
How did they get on the board? How did that work?
It's all been conversation and innate growth. So it's been conversation when we meet new people and we find new people. We've really kind of made it a focus and a real want to have it diversified across our diocese too. For a long time, it was fairly Traverse City centric, and that's because
no,
yeah, I know.
No, get out of here. No.
And what we really didn't want, and this is by their mission and mine when I came in 3 years ago, we need to represent our diocese across everywhere.
Amen.
And so we need to hear voices from all parts of our diocese, not just certain areas.
Yeah.
So that's been really important. And we have...
just so people are clear on this, Tom, so the county we're filming in is, I think it's the third poorest county in the whole of Michigan. And so we have people below the poverty line. And so, yes, there are some parts of our diocese that are very much in need of access, perhaps, to endowments or ways of having a voice.
Having a voice, correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, I applaud that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have members in Sheboygan, we have members in Petoskey. There's a couple of folks that we're evaluating now to bring onto our board. We don't have a set number of people that we can have on our board.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we have the right people on the board. So they're excellent, and that's who I report to. I am the only employee of the Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation. So
I was going to ask you that because I seem to recall.
Yeah, so I'm the only employee, and part of that is by design, with the standpoint that we're really trying to keep our costs as low as we possibly can. We view the money that is put into our endowments, it's not ours. We're stewards of that, and so we need to make sure that we are spending it and not having excessive, expenses. Our office, I work out of my home because my office is here. My office is in all the meeting places that I go to.
And I was going to maybe get you to talk about that, about your accessibility.
Yeah.
That you're willing to travel anywhere in the diocese
anywhere, anytime to have a conversation, whether it's one person or.
So how do people get a hold of you?
You can reach me by going to our website. You can go to if you search Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation, but you can find us at nmcatholicfoundation.org. You can reach me on my cell phone. I'm happy to share that, 231-633-1614. You can reach me in the office, 231-922-9070, or you can send me an email, and that's tom@nmcatholicfoundation.org.
Okay. It wouldn't be me if I didn't ask this. Why don't you have a saint's name?
Me personally?
No, you do. Thomas is a saint, right? Even I know that, right? Why is it not, for talking's sake, why is it not the St. Matthew Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation?
That's an excellent question.
I would like you to bring that up at the next board meeting.
I will certainly
It
find that.
doesn't need to be St. Matthew, although obviously he's the patron saint of accountants.
Mm-hmm.
It could be St. Isidore of Seville, who invented he's the patron of computers and all things counting, because he was a mathematician. I just think that Catholic things.
St. Paul, as far as the patron saint of fundraising and philanthropy, is certainly somebody we have. I have an intern this summer, Rob Myler, who goes to Notre Dame. He's the son of Joel. And he created 2 prayer cards for us, and one is St. Paul, and so we'll be sharing with those with folks as well. So not necessarily having a saint in our name as part of that, but we are embracing some of that and making sure we're continuing
That's
to
an
let people
item
know
for you
that.
to bring up to the...
I will make my
Oh
first
God,
notes.
yes. Oh God bless you again. You're going to have to really blow this out of the water, mate.
Hey, I got it.
Right? So, okay. What kind of things would you not entertain? You say any Catholic thing, Catholic organisations, but it surely can't just be, somebody can't just come to you saying there's 10 of us and we'd like to create something. Here's the money. Have they got to have a connection with the diocese or something like that?
We have to have a connection with any Catholic mission within our diocese. So anything that we invest in, all of money. We can talk about the specifics of that later, but everything we invest in is it's invested in what we believe in as Catholics. And so if you have that mission, every endowment or anything that we are supporting is going to be within our Catholic faith. So any of your local community foundations, if you're looking to support, something different, They'll create an endowment for anything that you want to support on a long-term basis, but ours is specific for Catholic focused missions.
Okay, now, one of the myths that's out there that priests think is a thing to do with your foundation is you invest the money and you can't get at it. Explain.
Sure. So
explain what actually happens.
So a true endowment, that any portion, the principal, the corpus of your money is invested. And then a true endowment is sending you a distribution, a dividend off of that, a percentage of the earnings. So we do that. We follow that in one respect.
So is this the equivalent of interest if you take out a CD in a bank, the interest?
That's correct. Right. Exactly the same. So with us, if you create an endowment, we allow 1/3 of whatever your corpus or your principal is. So let's use that $10,000 that we were talking about. If you invested $10,000 with us and created a new endowment, you could have 1/3 of that, $3,333, into what we call a sub or spendable account. So it's somewhat of a quasi endowment. So that 1/3 is always accessible to you until it's spent. But that $6,667 that you put in initially is protected forever. And the idea of that is that it's going to, every year, it's going to continue to grow from the earnings off of the investment, and then a distribution is going to take place. So you get a distribution every year based on the total amount that you have.
Okay.
But then you also have access to 1/3 of it.
If a parish, obviously wouldn't be this St. Francis, perhaps the other one, had 100 grand, and they invested it, they put it into the foundation. If something happened, if they had a building was, the new rectory or something was burned down, can they at all get the 100 back?
They can't take the entire amount back. They can take the
So
whatever is there in their sub or spendable account. And again,
from that point of view, it is true that if you're going to put money in, some of it's untouchable then, but you are getting the fruit of it.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to gain the interest off of that, how it's invested every year. And the market has been extremely good the last 3 years. So we have seen a lot of growth based on the interest and, every year. So your fund is growing every year at a really good rate right now. But you also have access to that portion that's there. And then a lot of what our funds do is they take their distribution, and they're not necessarily spending it, but if they have spent down their spendable portion, they take the distribution and just reinvest it into their spendable portion. And so now they have money that they can access again when they need it for any annual or capital expense that you may have at your parish.
So could I, in this parish, for example, could I ask 100 people, can you give me £1,000? And every year, can you give me another £1,000? And keep adding to that, and the endowment of that be for my buildings, or could it be for anything? Could I do it like that? Can it be multiple people putting into something and then topping it up?
Absolutely. Anytime a new donation.
Is anybody doing what I just said?
Not in that exact frame, but we do have parishes that are looking at, they look at their finance councils, look at it every month. And if they have a surplus, they send money into their endowment. And so they know that the money is being invested, and they know that if they have maximized their spendable account, meaning that 1/3, again, $100,000, so they had $33,000+ in their spendable account. Anytime a new donation comes in, it's 2/3 and 1/3. So we continue to grow both sides. So if you had 2 years in a row of people giving you $100,000, you'd immediately have $66,000 in the spendable account, but you'd have $200,000 as a whole that's earning interest, that's going to have a greater return every year.
Okay.
So if you take any of that money out when you need a new roof, so you don't have to go ask, or you don't have to do a big fundraiser, you need a new roof, you need to pave your parking lot, your boiler goes out, your air conditioning goes out, any of that sort of thing that happens, then you have money that's accessible. All you have to do is send us a letter and we send you a check.
Okay. Does the foundation, Dave might remember this, who it is, they do calendars. There's a Catholic organisation you can appeal to for things if you're going to do things in your parish. I can't remember what they're called, but does the foundation, if I was needed a new roof, does the foundation, would I be able to access, could I get money to help me do that?
From whatever is in your account.
No, but if I don't have.
If you don't have the money, if you don't have an endowment,
Yeah.
and you needed money for something, could you come to us? and
Yes,
ask for it?
yes.
So all of our endowments are specific in nature for when it's created and it's continually funded, it's for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
We have one endowment that was created that is our discretionary fund. So we have one endowment that is a discretionary fund that our board meets. We'll be discussing it at our next board meeting.
Right.
Where are we going to fund? So if somebody does need help in a specific area, they can send for different things. And we have helped numerous different causes for different things.
Okay, I wish I could remember the whichever organization. It's a national organization, Catholic it's a foundation, but you can appeal to them. They do calendars. That's why it was in my head. You can appeal to them for things like building funds or new vestments, a new altar, and stuff like that.
And
so you don't do
Catholic
that.
extension. Like
That's it. Thank you, Dave. I knew you would know it. Yes, they do that kind
They're
of
a
thing,
good
don't
partner.
they?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
And it's a foundation essentially
Yes.
that fundraises and they give grants for different things
Yes.
to dioceses that qualify. You have to
Yeah.
be an extension diocese
Yeah.
and meet certain financial criteria.
But you don't do that. So what I'm asking him, they don't do that then. They don't do what Catholic extensions do.
It's different. They have the ability to do small grants within that fund that they have, but not Catholic extension is essentially a large foundation, and what they do is they'll offer the opportunity within extension diocese. They have, for example, they have a deadline of November 1st every year. You can apply for different grants for different projects, and then what they do is they often go and they try to match. If you have a request from your diocese, say it's seminary and education, they'll try to match either with an existing fund they have or with a donor that they work with who they know might be sensitive or willing to give toward that. And they try to marry the two.
Okay.
So they're kind of like an intermediary for an extension diocese.
Okay, but you don't do that. You have, as Dave said, like you were touching upon, you have access to the interest from the one that you guys have created that's not named, it's not got attached to anything.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that fund is the Arnie Oaks Fund, and Arnie Oaks was one of the initial donors that contributed to our foundation.
Okay.
And his whole purpose was for us to be able to decide where that money is going to be spent throughout the year.
Okay. Could people, if people are watching this, listening to this, and they want to just give in order and let you guys decide, is that how they would do it to the Arnie Oaks?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. If you're interested in continuing to support just like that, the Arnie Oaks Fund is a fund that you could donate to, and that one money would be put into the endowment.
What kind of things have you used the Arnie Oak to help?
One of the first things that comes to mind is, we're supporting the diocese right now. And one of the diocese is working on a cemetery project where every cemetery across our diocese is going into a computer software program. And getting that off the ground was an expensive piece and not something that the diocese had budgeted. As you had mentioned before, it's not part of CSA. It's not part of, that's not something that was there, that's already there. So it was a new project, new fund. And so we're helping them with that. We've helped our Catholic schools go to the National Right to Life March across the diocese. We have used it for different initiatives for new funds. If parishes are interested in creating it, and this was 4 years ago, right before I started. If a parish or a school or somebody was interested in creating a new fund, there was a matching. We used that amount for a matching part to help seed all those initial funds for that. We've helped out the pregnancy care centers. We've helped out numerous different things across the
And how is that done? Do people write to?
They do.
You better give us the email address again then.
Yeah, it's tom@nmcatholicfoundation.org. If there's a cause or if there's something that you're interested in, please feel free to send me an email and send me documentation on it, and then we'll set up a time to talk. So
do you lean towards encouraging matching? If you're doing it for a parish, are you more likely? Is a parish more likely to get it because you say we can give you $5,000 if you raise $5,000?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's what we did here.
Yeah.
For the stuff.
It's a great way, and that's one of the things we've really encouraged, and we're really encouraging parishes, just create an endowment, and we can talk about that more as we go. But if an endowment is created, then it gives somebody an opportunity to leave it in their estate, leave a gift, start thinking about your parish as another child.
Yeah.
Start thinking about, so if you have 3 kids, add your parish in as the 4th section of your estate when you're going to leave it, no matter the size of your estate, no matter the percentage of what you're going to give. When you start thinking about how can you leave however much you're giving annually to your parish, if every one of our parishioners started thinking about how they can do that with their estate, if they left money to their parish endowment, the parish would not be struggling for money from a finance perspective. If we were able to do that.
But I'll tell you something else, and then Dave, once I've said this, you can please tell us what put beef on the bones of what your job is.
Sure.
This is something that I recently discussed. I mentioned it in a homily, but I recently discussed with my parish finance that some people have been given $5 for the collection for the last 20 years. Which means now they're actually giving, I think it was worked out, that would actually be the equivalent of giving something like $2.20. So that's an ongoing problem that you're fighting all the time,
right.
I would have thought. So tell us what you can about yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And about the job, which you're still relatively new to.
Relatively new, been about a little over a year, about 13 months I've been with the guys.
So the proper title is?
Director of Development, and that basically encompasses a wide variety of things. I oversee the annual Catholic Services Appeal, the appeal that goes out to cover
the tax.
Yes, the not tax. The thing that I loved what you said before when we were just chatting on the side. The basically, essentially, the bishop's evangelization fund, the ability for the diocese to operate and go and do God's work in Northern Michigan, and that's the bare minimum.
Let me just ask you this, because this is the first time we've met.
Yep.
If it was a tax, right, would you even have taken the job? No, right.
No, I wouldn't want to touch that. No,
exactly.
No chance.
Right, exactly. Right.
So it's a really great way for people to support. And for the most part, most people around Northern Michigan are very generous throughout our diocese. Most parishes do fairly well with it. And it's a chance every year for people to give to the greater Catholic Church, not just their local church, but the services throughout our diocese that assist their local church, that assist their sister parishes throughout the diocese. But then, in a way, part of it goes towards national collections, things like that we don't just pass on to the parishes individually. Otherwise, there'd be a second collection every other week. So the diocese handles
actually, and on that, I've said this, I think I said this when I did the programs with your predecessor. The diocese I came here from in France, we had 48 second collections every year. It was a very, very active diocese. Right. There had a radio station and stuff like that. But 48 second collections.
That's a lot.
Yes. Then you would be justified in saying all the Catholic Church is talking about is money. You would be justified in that.
Right.
But we don't have 48 second collections. But roughly, didn't ask you this beforehand, but roughly, as a guesstimate, if we didn't have CSA, how many second collections do you think we would need to have?
There'd be in excess of
30?
20.
Definitely more than 20.
Every other week. There would be a minimum of, say, 26. So every other week you'd be doing it. at bare minimum, just
Yeah.
to make things work, to support the things the USCCB wants the diocese to support, and then beyond that, just to support the things to keep the diocese operational.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So development. What is that?
Right. So essentially, beyond the CSA scope, it's anything that the bishop sees worthy of funding. My job is to go out and find a way of funding it. So it could be, you have to get a little creative sometimes. It could be through grants, like we spoke about Catholic Extension. They're our number one grant giving entity, and that's a program, a foundation that dioceses have to qualify for. And that's based on the size of the diocese, the finances of the diocese, and the finances of the area you're in too. So more affluent areas aren't going to necessarily be in that. Areas more rural, the northern Michigan kind of thing.
So you have to write grant applications.
Yes, correct. Quite a bit.
I was going to ask how much of your time is spent doing that.
I would say it depends on the part of the year, because like November 1st is the deadline, because we operate on a fiscal year of July 1 to June 30th. So November 1st is Catholic Extension's deadline. So the month of October, that's the bulk of my job, is just writing, just going through it, fine tuning it, bringing things to bishop, bringing things to the entities that we're asking for. Throughout the rest of the year, there are some other organizations that we do seek grants from. But it's a little more hit or miss. It's a lesser part of the job.
Part of the reason I ask you that, you've listened to the programs I did about CSA, so you've heard me do this, right? What we like to do. So, who pays your wages?
The CSA, the parishioners.
If there wasn't your position, if we didn't have CSA and we didn't have your position, how would we get these grants? Great
question. It wouldn't. There'd be no one there specifically to write.
We'd need to have volunteers trying to fit it in, wouldn't we?
Right. Or in the past, before this position existed, it was handled by the department that was looking for the money. So if it was Faith Formation looking for it, they had to write it. But then you're dealing with people who don't necessarily know or want to do those things. And what happens is you never wind up applying, because they look at that and it's an intimidating process. And they say, I'm not gonna do that. And then you leave the grant money on the table.
Yeah, in one of my previous parishes, I never applied for a grant, because nobody ever, until I came along and I had friends that could do it, and so we got a grant for that. Because people people think we're talking about filling a form. It ain't as simple as that. You've got to sell the idea.
You do, and it's competitive to get a lot of these grants. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, a lot that goes into it. You'll need, for most of them, you'll need some sort of financial documentation. If it's a building project, for example, they don't want you to say, "Oh, we have this dream. This is going to cost us $100,000." They want to see estimates from contractors, multiple estimates. They want to see photographs. They want to see renderings of what it's going to look after. And then in the situation where you win that competition, a lot of times there's follow-up conversations that happen with the entity. And then if you're awarded that grant, there's a series of reports you have to file throughout the process.
Which is long overdue, because we do need those things.
Right.
Because we should have good governance.
Yes.
Because, as again, I think he didn't maybe say it, but Tom alluded to it, he's looking after other people's money.
Yes.
You're looking after other people's money. I'm looking after other people's money. There should be good governance. If there isn't good governance, shame on us, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
So they want to know like the short term, the progress of the project. They want to know the after. And then if this is something where you reference the future, you say, hey, in 3 years from now, this is our big scope goal. This is why we're doing this. They're going to come back to you even 3 years from now and say, okay, 3 years ago, you said this. Is this the way that worked out for the diocese?
Thanks for joining us today. You can listen again to this or any other episode of Let's Talk Catholic at our blog, letstalkcatholicpodcast.blogspot.com, or you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, or almost any other podcast provider. You can also like us on Facebook. Let's Talk Catholic is produced by Nick Medelsky and can be heard right here on Relevant Radio in Northern Michigan, Saturdays at noon.